Nothing in the gate bias.
It will be stating the obvious to say that this team would have loved to have put a point on the board yesterday. According to co-helmsman Dylan Fletcher, if they'd managed to complete their final tack and stay on the foils, there was a possibility that they could have made it to the finish. Instead, the clock beat them to it. But the British team came away from yesterday's race confident that they were on the right track. It's still early days, and with such closely matched teams and such a wide range of conditions, no one is making any assumptions. But last night after racing, I spoke to Dylan and flight controller Lee McMillan about the way in which both teams seemed to be able to configure their boats. And while they both said it was a lot to do with learning how to sail them, Lee gave an indication as to the way in which the team was making progress.
It seems that every time you guys go out, and it was sort of the same with some of the other teams as well, but every time you go out we see a sort of a different profile. Just as we think we know what you're all about, yes, Luna Rossa's good in the light and the Brits are good in the heavy, then suddenly your performance switches around. And does it feel like that to you, that the range by which teams you can both change your performance is actually much more than you thought? Or are you surprised at how much your opponents can change their performance?
I think we've, I guess, generally been kind of chasing, the other teams. Like, since launch, we've probably had the most kind of climbing to do. But I think, in a way, being on that trajectory has given us a lot of confidence that we can achieve that in all conditions. Some conditions we're a bit stronger than others, but we're always finding the gains and always looking to find the gains where possible, and slowly kind of crawling ourselves into a position where we're competitive. So I don't think, today we kind of felt like we're competitive enough to win races. For sure, if the tables are turned and, they had a strong start and we're in front, they're going to be a really hard team to get past. But I think we're, in a competitive enough position where we do a good job, we can win races and make it very difficult for Luna Rossa.
Now, none of them are ever going to tell us what changes they're making, but it's interesting to hear where they think they are, and that the climb up the development curve is happening step by step, race by race. Just as with the performance improvements that were made in the semi-final series between American Magic and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, we seem to be seeing a similar pattern of behaviour in this final. In the build-up to any multi-challenger America's Cup, we always talk of the prospects of the challengers getting stronger throughout the selection period and the pressure that this puts on the defender. But it's been a while since we've seen it played out so regularly. Across the harbour, there's a red and green team that are watching very closely. Under the rules, they are allowed to have access to the racecourse at specific times, and you can be sure that they're going to take these opportunities. Because as a defender, having to sit out any boat-on-boat racing, one of the next best things is to see how your boat would do on the same course in the same conditions, and then compare it to the performance of the challengers. And you can be sure that this isn't lost on the challengers either. They'll be watching how Emirates Team New Zealand perform. On top of this, the forecast for today looks like it's going to deliver another different set of conditions, with mid to top end breeze and flattish seas. So as Ineos Britannia and Luna Rossa head out for the third day of the finals, today is more than just a couple of match races. It always is. But for all the careful and meticulous planning, Sunday turned into a dramatic and testing day from the off. Alinghi Red Bull Racing were out on a training exercise and were now lying on their side, having capsized close to the racecourse. The boat was on its side for a long time, and when they finally managed to right it, there was plenty of water inside and presumably a fair bit of damage. Further upwind, the Kiwis had come out for some training too, much as expected. But they had some gear problems as well and had to curtail their day on the water. Then came the big delay for the sparring pair as the breeze sat above the upper limit, preventing the racing from getting underway. During that period, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli broke some of its mainsail battens while limbering up. Teams can play a delay card once per series to help with situations like this, but the delay card is only worth 15 minutes and it takes at least half an hour to change a mainsail on the AC75. Having decided to take a chance with the start being delayed, they began the process, but in a stroke of very bad luck, the breeze dipped below the limit and the race got underway without them. In fact, Luna Rossa were disqualified for having had outside assistance from their support boat, so Ineos didn't even need to start and gain the point. This was a huge blow to the Italians, especially as everyone then had to wait for over an hour for the breeze to drop sufficiently for the race to start. But when it did, it was a cracker. One of the most aggressive pre-starts we've seen in these conditions, as the pair locked horns and pressed the protest buttons.
Protest! John Bales pulled the way up. Turning right. Jesus Christ!
But nothing came of the button pushing and shouting, and at the start the Italians had the upper hand, just. But as we've seen, that's all you need at this level between these two teams. And Luna Rossa did a superb job of protecting their position all the way around.
We are strong here. No reason to go too high. He's going to go away so down. Are you pressing a little? I think we'll in the way down again. Okay, my trap. Okay, your trap. That's heel. He's just trying to get to load. Facing the right. All for you. All good. Keep going, Dylan.
They even stretched out on Ineos at one point before the British came storming back on the last lap of the course. But it was not quite enough, and they finished just 4 seconds behind Luna Rossa. So there you go, I've ruined it for you once again. But make sure you watch it in full. It is a superb race that has once again raised the bar as these teams sail with their feet flat to the floor.
How do?
Right, man.
That was exciting.
It was alright, wasn't it, for a yacht race? It was quite interesting.
That was a very aggressive start. I mean, given that Luna Rossa had their problems, technical problems, was that part of your strategy to go and get in there hard, fast, as soon as you could?
No, not really. And yeah, I think that's the nature of sport, isn't it? I mean, the opportunity opened up. I don't know if they were slightly late on the entry, but we had an opportunity to pick them up, and then we were in a really strong position to cart them out past the ley line. And I don't know. I'm sure from the other boat there's a different story, and the umpires is a different story always. But yeah, I felt like we were in a strong position, but the net result was they came out at the start ahead and did a great job to defend the lead.
I mean, that was fast and furious, really close. And from the audio that we heard off the boat, it seemed quite clear that there were moments where all of you were quite surprised at how close it was. And yet, you look at it on the umpire thing, and it looks like it's apart, and you think, okay, that's clear. Are we starting to see the level of the game move up, and things are going to have to change a bit? Is this just too close for comfort?
Well, look, the pre-start, yeah, definitely from our perspective, it was too close because we're doing, I don't know what speed we're doing, 40 plus knots, and the boats were meters apart and very, very close, and we didn't think the jibe was on. But the other two incidents, those ones are, like you say, when you watch them in the umpire, I haven't seen it back yet, but obviously we didn't have an overlap, and that was pretty clear for the umpires. But those great learning experiences. It's the first time we've been in that situation in these boats where we've been pushing for overlaps. Hasn't happened for us before. I think some of the teams have had other races. So, yeah, we'll learn a lot from that. As frustrated we are that we gave up the point, there's some great learnings, and also, the performance of the boat was really good, and the team are in a really positive mindset, and there's still a long way to go.
How fast do you think it feels like the game's ramping up pretty quickly now. This is exactly what a Challenger Selection Series should be doing in many ways. Is it accelerating faster than you thought?
No, I think you got two really strong teams pushing each other to the limit, which in sport is what you want. And I think whichever team comes out of this is going to be in a great position to take on the Kiwis. And we know taking on the Kiwis is one hell of an ask, but I think we're pushing each other nicely here in this Louis Vuitton Cup final.
Well, it's great to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Jimmy, how hard was it when you had to make that decision to take the main down? That must have been a difficult call because the best you could play was a 15-minute card.
Yeah, I mean, we knew how long it took to change a main, so it was actually, we were able to do it pretty quickly and then just get on with the job. I mean, look, it's a long series, and I mean, look, in the Cup, no one's immune from facing challenges and curveballs. You just don't know when they're going to come, and so to respond like the team did, it wasn't the perfect preparation clearly for the second race, but yeah, full credit to them, and again, just another nice confidence boost that you know you can do it.
But you still had to give away a race to do it. That must have been galling.
I mean, look, that's just sport. I think if you look around the fleet, everyone's had to face something at some time, and it doesn't mean it's going to stop here. You never know. Something could come along, and that's the beauty of a long series. So, yeah, look, we managed to pull away with a very, very nice win in tough conditions, and that's a good one for the team.
They came at you very hard straight away, didn't they, right from the off?
Yeah, that's what you expect. That's what you want. I mean, look, we love a good fight, and they're a great team. Boats seem pretty evenly matched. The teams seem pretty evenly matched, and yeah, if it's a sign of things to come, I mean, it's going to be one hell of a ride.
And you must be very pleased with the way the boat's going at the moment. You're up in the top end. Conditions look very comfortable.
Yeah, the boat felt great. I mean, I thought both boats were actually going really well. It was definitely, we were hanging on around the top marks with that mainsail, but man, it was just impressive seeing the guys deal with it and try and keep the boat in balance. It was, a sign of strength, I thought.
They were calling the protest, not you, but how scary is it? It looks like it's getting quite close now, closer than it looks for the umpires anyway.
Yeah, no, for us it was all pretty straightforward.
2 days of racing and the score of 2-2. It doesn't take a genius to see where this is going. Tomorrow was a reserve day, it's not now. See you then.